Headlines exploded. Billionaire's daughter goes undercover as a maid to find love. Anya Lancaster, heir to the Lancaster fortune, secretly lived as a housemaid for weeks. Romance sparks with the estate groundskeeper. Is it true love or just a fairy tale gone too far? Photos of Anya scrubbing floors, talking to Ethan, and even standing outside the lake cottage covered every gossip site and social feed. Anya sat on the edge of the guest bed in Ethan's cottage, scrolling through the chaos on her phone. Her hands trembled. Her heart sank with each cruel comment. She's playing poor for fun? Another spoiled rich girl looking for attention. This Ethan guy should run. She turned off the screen and buried her face in her hands. Ethan stood in the doorway, arms crossed, eyes shadowed by worry. "This is exactly what I was afraid of," he said softly. "I didn't ask for this. I never wanted the world to know. But they know now, and they won't let it go." She looked up at him, searching his face. "What about you? Are you going to let go too?" Ethan walked over and sat beside her. "I don't care about the cameras. I care about you. The girl who laughed at my dry jokes, who stayed up late helping Mrs. Cartwright, who talked to me like I mattered." Anya's eyes watered. "Then why do you look like you're already pulling away?" He sighed deeply. "Because I don't know where I fit in your world. I fix gardens. You fly private jets. One day, you'll go back to that life, and I'll still be here." "No," Anya said firmly. "That life isn't home anymore. You are." Ethan turned to her slowly. For a moment, the tension cracked, but before either of them could say more, a knock came at the door again. This time it was a tall woman in a navy suit, Anya's father's personal assistant. "Miss Lancaster," she said, cool and direct, "your father is asking you to return, immediately." "I'm not going back," Anya said without flinching. "You don't have a choice. Your name, your image, your family's empire. It's all on the line." Ethan stepped between them. "She does have a choice." But the assistant's gaze didn't waver. "Then I suggest you both prepare, because the press is outside." Anya peeked through the curtain. Dozens of cameras. The camera flashes began before Anya even stepped out the door. Reporters shouted her name, drones buzzed overhead, and microphones waved through the air like desperate hands reaching for the truth. Ethan moved protectively in front of her, shielding her from the chaos as they approached the long black limousine parked near the trees. The door opened. Victor Lancaster stepped out. He was tall, sharply dressed, and calm as ever, but his eyes, icy and unforgiving, locked onto his daughter with a storm of disappointment. "I gave you everything," he said without a greeting, "and you chose to throw it all away for this?" Anya stood firm, though her heart pounded. "No, Father, I didn't throw anything away. I walked away. There's a difference." He glanced at Ethan with clear disapproval. "And you must be the gardener she's risked our family's name for." Ethan raised his chin, but remained silent. Victor turned back to Anya. "Let's be clear. This stops now. You will return with me, you will issue a public apology, and you will stay quiet until this dies down." Anya shook her head slowly. "I'm not apologizing for trying to live a real life." "You don't understand the damage this has caused," he snapped. "Stockholders are questioning your stability. Our partners are pulling out. My name is being dragged through mud." "And maybe it should be," she burst out. "You raised me in a house where love meant control, where no one ever said, 'I'm proud of you,' only 'do what you're told. I'm done being your trophy.'" Victor's face darkened. "You will come back, Anya, or you will be cut off." She froze. Everything she had, her inheritance, her shares, her trust fund, it would all vanish. Ethan stepped forward, eyes locked on hers. "If you go with him, you'll never be free." Anya looked at her father, then back at Ethan. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "Then cut me off." The crowd gasped. Victor's lips thinned. "You'll regret this," he said, turning and slamming the car door. The limousine sped away, leaving behind silence and flashing cameras. Ethan looked at her, stunned. "You just walked away from everything." She smiled through her tears. "No, Ethan. I just walked towards something." But as the reporters closed in again, Anya realized her new life had just begun, and it wouldn't be easy. Every major news channel and gossip site. The story had changed. She was no longer just a missing heiress or a curious romantic. Now, she was the daughter who turned her back on billions for love. Some praised her bravery. Others called it foolish. Ethan turned off the TV in the cottage and looked over at her. She was curled up on the couch, her eyes tired but calm. "You all right?" he asked gently. "I don't know," she admitted. "Everything I've known, my name, my wealth, my safety net, is gone. But I've never felt more real." He sat beside her. "You could have had anything. You chose this life." "I didn't choose a hard life. I chose an honest one." They sat in silence, the fire crackling softly. Outside, most of the reporters had left. Only a few stubborn ones remained, waiting for a glimpse of the girl who traded a crown for a broom. Over the next few days, life was different. Anya stayed with Ethan at the lake cottage, and together they cleaned, cooked, and built a routine. He taught her how to plant seedlings. She showed him how to cook pasta better than he'd ever managed. They laughed. They argued. They grew. But the world didn't forget her. Strangers came to the lake. Some asked for autographs. Some wanted to interview the lovebirds. And one evening, as she walked into the nearby town to buy groceries, a woman sneered, "Playing poor for attention? How cute." Anya felt the sting, but didn't respond. She just kept walking. Back at the cottage, she slumped onto the porch, groceries in hand. Ethan watched her. "You don't have to prove anything to them." "I know," she whispered, "but it still hurts." He took her hand. "Let them say what they want. I see you. Then I'm not going anywhere." Her heart swelled. But that night, as they shared dinner under the stars, a message pinged on her phone. It was from her father's lawyer. "Miss Lancaster, a legal notice has been issued. Your shares in the Lancaster estate will be officially revoked in 7 days unless you respond and comply with the family's conditions." Ethan read the message over her shoulder. "They're not done with you." Anya looked into his eyes. "I didn't expect them to be." She wasn't just walking away from her past. Now, she had to fight for her future. Casting golden ripples across the water, but inside the cottage, the atmosphere was heavy. Anya stared at her phone, the message from her father's lawyer still open. 7 days. 7 days to either return to the Lancaster family's rules or lose everything that legally tied her to them, her shares, her properties, and her place in the legacy. Ethan poured her a cup of tea and placed it on the table gently. "You don't have to decide now," he said softly. "But I do," Anya whispered, "because if I wait too long, I'll lose the chance to make it on my own terms." Ethan knelt beside her. "I'll support you, no matter what. But I need to ask you something, and I need the truth." She looked down at him, her chest tight. "Are you staying here because of me, or because you really want this life?" Anya's breath caught. It was a fair question. She had thrown away billions, sure, but had she done it just for love or for herself? She said slowly, "I came here to find something real. I didn't know what that meant at first. I thought it was just about falling in love. But now I know it's about becoming someone real, someone who doesn't need to hide behind her name." Ethan held her gaze. "And what if it gets harder? What if the media never lets this go? What if I'm not enough for you 5 years from now?" She placed her hand over his heart. "You were enough the moment I saw you carry that kitten down from the tree, the moment you treated me like a person, not a name." Tears welled in his eyes, though he tried to hide them. "And what about your future? Your ideas, your talents? Are you going to waste them just to prove a point to your father?" That hit her, because he was right. She had power, she had brains, she had drive. She didn't need to go back to the Lancaster Empire to succeed. She could build something on her own. "I'm going to start over," she said, her voice firmer, "with you beside me, and I'm going to use what I've learned to help others who never given the chances I had." Ethan smiled, but before he could respond, a knock came at the door. Not reporters this time. It was Mrs. Cartwright, and her face was pale. "Anya, you need to come. It's your father. He's collapsed." Anya sat in the back seat of Mrs. Cartwright's old car, staring out the window as fields turned into highways, and highways into polished glass buildings. Her heart pounded, not with fear of the media or the inheritance, but fear of something deeper. Her father, Victor Lancaster, had collapsed. No matter what he had done, he was still her father. They arrived at Hillsborough Private Hospital, where the family name had long paid for a wing of its own. Reporters stood across the street, but security held them back as Anya slipped inside with a cap pulled low over her face. She was escorted to the top floor. There, in a quiet room surrounded by machines and blinking lights, lay Victor Lancaster. His eyes were closed. His skin looked pale. His strength drained. Doctors murmured outside the door, "Stress, minor heart attack, stable but needs rest." Anya stepped in quietly, the memories flooding her. Memories of birthdays with hired clowns, but no hugs. Memories of luxury vacations without warmth. And now, here he was, the most powerful man she knew, brought low not by business rivals, but by the weight of his own world. He opened his eyes slowly and saw her. "You came," he rasped. "I came," she replied, sitting beside the bed. He took a shaky breath. "I didn't think you would. Not after everything I said." Anya's voice softened. "You're still my dad. That hasn't changed." He turned his head slightly, struggling. "I was wrong. I tried to control everything, even your heart." She reached for his hand, the first time in years she had done so. "I know, but I also know you thought you were protecting me." Victor gave a weak smile. "You're more like your mother than I ever admitted. Strong, stubborn, brave." They sat in silence, the beeping of the monitors filling the air. "I don't want your money anymore," Anya said gently. But I want you to live. Not for the company, not for the world, for yourself. He looked at her, eyes glossy. Do what makes you happy, Anya, even if it's not what I imagined. She squeezed his hand. I've already started. Just then, the door opened and Ethan stepped inside. Victor blinked in surprise. Anya stood and took Ethan's hand. Dad, this is Ethan, the man I chose, not because of money, but because of love. Victor looked at them for a long moment, and for the first time in Anya's life, he smiled with pride. But for Anya and Ethan, everything had changed. They now lived in a modest home near the edge of Elmridge, a cozy cottage with a vegetable garden in the back and wildflowers blooming along the windowsills. The noise of cameras had long gone. In its place was peace, laughter, and purpose. Victor Lancaster had recovered slowly. He wasn't the same man who once barked orders from his marble office. The heart scare had humbled him. He stayed out of the press and let Anya live her life. For the first time, he listened instead of lectured. And Anya? She didn't just leave the Lancaster empire, she built something new. With her savings and a few quiet investors, she launched a program called Rooted. It was a small business that helped train underprivileged youth in gardening, landscaping, and home design, combining Ethan's talent with her resources. The goal was simple: create jobs, build beauty, and change lives from the ground up. Every morning, Ethan worked with a group of young men and women in the gardens. Every afternoon, Anya taught workshops on business and budgeting. They were a team, stronger together than they had ever been apart. One afternoon, as they sat on the porch sipping lemonade, Ethan turned to her. Do you ever miss it? The wealth, the parties, the attention? Anya chuckled. Honestly, not even a little. He raised an eyebrow. Not even the private jets? She grinned. Maybe the heated seats, but not the loneliness. He leaned closer. I think you traded the right life for the right love. She rested her head on his shoulder. I think I finally understand what my mother meant. About marrying for love? No, she whispered. About becoming someone worth loving, someone real. They watched the sunset in silence, the orange sky reflecting in the lake beyond. Then Ethan stood and reached into his pocket. Anya blinked, surprised. He knelt. Anya Lancaster, or should I say, Anna Blake, Undercover Maid, and real-life miracle, will you marry me? Her eyes widened. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, he said with a smile. Tears welled in her eyes. Yes, she breathed. 1,000 times yes. As they embraced, the wind danced around them, carrying the scent of lavender and promise. But as they turned to walk back into their home, a letter arrived at the gate, stamped with her father's crest. And inside, one final surprise waited. Envelope over in her hands, her heart thudding softly. It was elegant, thick parchment sealed with the golden Lancaster family crest. She hadn't received anything from her father since she walked away from his empire. Until now. Ethan stood beside her on the porch, wiping soil from his hands after a long day of planting tulips with the Rooted team. Are you going to open it? She nodded and gently broke the seal. Inside was a handwritten letter, neat, deliberate strokes in her father's familiar hand. My dearest Anya, if you're reading this, then you've already made your choice. And I now understand it was the right one. You taught me something I never expected to learn, that legacy isn't measured by power or profit, but by peace. You gave up everything I spent my life building just to find something I never knew how to give you: freedom, love, and truth. As a father, I failed you more times than I can count, but as a man, I hope this small gesture speaks what I never said aloud. Enclosed, you'll find the deed to the lake cottage and an account in your name, one untouched by family ties or company stocks. It's not a reward, it's a gift, a fresh start, on your terms. Use it for yourself, or don't. Either way, I'll be watching. Quietly proud. Your father, Victor Lancaster. Anya's fingers trembled as she lowered the letter. "He gave you the cottage?" Ethan asked, stunned. She nodded, blinking back tears. "And a fund. No strings. Just love in his own way." For a moment, neither of them said a word. Then Ethan grinned. "I guess that means our wedding can have actual chairs now." Anya burst out laughing, the sound full and free. They married 2 months later in the very garden where they first spoke. No golden aisle, no velvet invitations, just wildflowers, close friends, and quiet joy. Mrs. Cartwright cried through the entire ceremony. Victor didn't attend, but he sent a single note. She bloomed. Years passed. Rooted grew into something far bigger than they dreamed, spreading to nearby towns, giving hundreds of youth the same second chance Anya had once searched for. But through it all, through the quiet mornings, the blooming gardens, the shared glances across dinner tables, Anya never forgot who she used to be. She had been a billionaire's daughter, but she became a woman of her own. And in the life she built from dust and love, she found something money could never buy: herself.